Okay, we're live. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to Knitting Around LA. I'm Julie.
I'm Judy, and we have a very special guest today, Brecia.
Oh, can you say your last name for us?
Yeah, introduce yourself.
Brecia Kralovic-Logan.
Okay.
And Brecia is the creator of Women's Woven Voices, and it's a project that she's going to tell us all about.
Well, let's
maybe tell us about yourself first.
Great. Well, thanks. It's really nice to be here. Yeah, so I am an artist, and I feel like I'm opening up to my art activism in my later years here, having worked with fiber for decades. I feel I'm really developing that part of myself that's able to use my art for a purpose. So that's what this project is all about. But taking it back, I think I'm like many other people. I don't know about you. If you learned when you were a child, did you learn when you were young?
hold on a second. Okay, I was just trying to adjust the sound.
Yeah, the audio is a little odd.
Yeah, it is a little odd today. I don't know why. Brecia, actually, didn't you grow up in Arizona?
I did grow up in Arizona. I was just gonna say, so I learned how to knit when I was just 6 years old, and so knitting was a part of my life. And I loved making things with my hands. And so Girl Scouts, I got introduced to weaving and basketry and all different kinds of art mediums. But anything with fiber was just, I just felt so at home. I just loved it. So, fast forward then into, my life as a mom, having 3 kids. By the time my kids were in elementary school, they were going to a charter school that emphasized art. And the community had put this charter school together. And one of the teachers, well, a couple of the teachers had Waldorf backgrounds. So I don't know if you guys know about Waldorf, but they incorporate using your hands and knitting, a lot of fiber things. I'm hearing myself.
I know.
Yeah. Anyways, so, oh, there, that's better. So when they started this charter school, they wanted to have a fiber arts program. And since I had 3 children at the school, every parent had to volunteer. I said, hey, I would love to do that. So I jumped right in and started developing a curriculum for kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all the way up to 5th grade. And programming that lasted from, we'd start up in October and go from October to May. I met with the kids every week. And we started in kindergarten with weaving on paper plates and, carding wool and just, learning about different fiber things. They did some very basic stitching. But then in 1st and 2nd grade, they started to get a little bit, more skills. So I think by 2nd grade, we were teaching them how to knit. By 5th grade, they would knit a hat to go on their, they would go camping in May at Yosemite, and they would all wear their beanies that they knit, So, I had these tapestry looms built, and each classroom, the kids would do a collaborative weaving project. So the reason I'm sharing all of this is that in doing that, one of the projects that I always did to introduce the weaving was to do weaving on straws like this.
Oh, yeah.
So, Julie, do you have yours?
I do. Uh-oh.
Oh, good. Okay. And Judy, you have as well. Yeah. So this is really kind of.
Yes, I've got mine also.
Yeah. So this is kind of the throwback. So I'm doing years. I think I did about 9 years. I'm constantly trying to think of ways that we can use this weaving, right? It starts out as sort of a curriculum. The kids would weave a belt but like in second and third grade, they'd be studying the Chumash, culture, which is the native indigenous people here in Santa Barbara. And so the teacher would kind of say, okay, here's 10 different things that they're going to learn about the Chumash, that they built tumbles, that they, ate acorn mash. And so we had set up a little station where each color of yarn represented a fact. And so then the kids would take that yarn and be weaving their belt. So by the time they finished, they had a woven belt, and each one of the colors represented one of the facts. And they could walk around and wear their belt, and then they could take it home and tell their mom and dad, this is what we learned. So it was a real, connected to the curriculum thing, really hands-on, right? And then it just kind of went from there. So we started doing community service projects. And the kids would read their scripts. And then one year we stitched them together and made placemats that were auctioned off for the local food bank, right? Then eventually I got a grant from the city, and I had kids weaving their story cloths. And we stitched them together into 4 panels that were according to the season. So we had winter, spring, summer, and fall. And the grant that I got was to share the project as an awareness of the Alzheimer's Association. So in each classroom, the teachers who participated had their kids ask their grandparents to tell them stories. They also learned what Alzheimer's was. They talked about memories and how, what memories they had as a family and as a child. And then we built these huge panels and donated them to the Alzheimer's Association, and they used them in their fundraising programs. So that's kind of the origin of this international collaborative project.
Wow.
So
yeah. And all this time, were you doing your other fiber work, like the fiber artwork that I know from our past together?
Yes, absolutely. So, by day I was, doing the work with the kids at the school. And then that kind of grew because I started meeting with the art teachers because, fiber is one of those things that doesn't get incorporated into school art programs very easily, right?
Yeah.
So I had a very large studio, and I was a member of the local Fiber Arts Guild. And so I thought, let's create a bridge. Let's have them donate, leftover yarn, leftover, stuff, anything that had to do with fiber. And then I'll open that up to the art teachers. But I'd also offer them to come in and set up a tapestry loom and teach them, what they needed to create, put some weaving into their curriculum. Mm-hmm. And it was just beautiful. I have to say, it's kind of like the height. It's one of my things I'm most proud of. I mean, I loved it. So in the meantime, my kids are growing, and I'm at home doing a lot of creative knitting, right? And teaching knitting out in the community, doing some weaving. And, by that time, I think, Julia, you and I met as Designing Weavers members, right?
Yeah. I remember meeting you I think it was 2005, and it was actually at the conference of the Surface Design Association.
Oh, yeah.
And you were going to be the president of Designing Weavers that year, or you were the outgoing president, and Deborah was incoming. I can't remember, but we had this. We broke out the first day, the regional breakfast.
Okay.
I mean, that was a good time. I enjoyed that conference. And I remember I walked up to you and I said, I want to join Designing Weavers, because B. Coleman had told me about Designing Weavers, and she had said, you should join.
Yes. Okay.
And then, I mean, the rest is our history.
Our history, yeah. And actually, that's interesting because the Designing Weavers have just now decided to discontinue.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, we're done. Thank you very much for everybody who's participated. So it is really a big piece of history,
It is, because they had, 50-year history?
Yeah. Decades and decades. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So can I show your website a little bit?
Yeah, that'd be great. Sure.
Okay. So let me see.
I'd rather you do that than me try to talk about it.
Oh yeah, because I want to show. And hold on a second. I'm doing two things at once.
Okay.
And Judy, can you try to turn your volume down a little bit?
I have turned it down already.
Okay.
More?
Yeah. So anyway, so we'll soldier on. Let me put this on the screen, and then here, let's do this. And this is Brecia's website. So this is a quick sample of here's some of the knitting.
Uh-huh.
And then have you switched to any online classes?
You know, I'm not, because as you mentioned earlier, you know, I just moved back to Santa Barbara and we're just sort of settling in. But for 2021, I'm looking ahead to offering some online classes.
Yeah. So this is the wall art.
Yeah, and that I'm currently doing. I have some pieces that are similar to that at Carpinteria Art Center right now as we speak.
Oh, great.
And the baskets I have at Crimson Holiday Store here in Santa Barbara. And then.
All right. So let me switch. I'm going to switch back. There we go.
Yeah.
So Brecia, looking at your art there, you also paint?
No, so all those framed pieces are dyed silk fabric that's collaged.
Oh, they look like paintings.
I'm glad they're my little I call them soulscapes, little abstract landscapes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is sort of painting.
It is. Yeah. So what I do with that is I manipulate the silk in all different kinds of ways and use the dyes to create various different effects. And then I go sort of like a quilter, and I chop up the different pieces of fabric and use gel medium to collage them. So.
Oh, very cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. So that's it. So yeah. So I'm still doing all of those things, and however, my main focus right now really has been on the Women's Woven Voices project, which I'd love to chat about now.
Well, take it over. Tell us all about it, because it's a fabulous, incredible project.
Good. Well, you can see the tapestry behind me. I'm just going to give you a quick little turn just so you can see the volume. So right now there are 9 panels of story cloth, which is about 230 or so story cloths that have been stitched together, and it's filling up my entire little living room here. I'm just surrounded by all of these incredible story cloths. So the basic idea, this project is an international project. It's a collaborative art project, and it has 3 different components. One is self-reflection and writing. The second one is the artwork. It's the weaving of your story cloth. And the third one is sharing your story. So whether that means just having your story cloth be a part of the tapestry, or actually getting together in groups, which I really encourage people to get together and share. And the whole purpose of that is for women particularly to just claim their personal power by sharing their story. And so I think I'll just share why am I doing this project?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mentioned that I just moved back to Santa Barbara about 6 years ago. My husband and my daughter and I moved up to Washington State. And while I was there, I had the opportunity to be on a planning team for a women's conference 2 years in a row. And so we it was a celebration of International Women's Day in March, which is a UN designated day to celebrate women. And aside from creativity and fiber, one of the other just driving, motivating forces in my life is to support women. So we did the conference, and we invited 6 women to come and speak for the day. And we looked around to see who was doing what, and we saw, these people are very inspiring and they either wrote a book or they started a community project, or, they were doing something, and we were like, you're cool. We want you to come and talk to us. But we don't really want you to do a PowerPoint, or, don't take us to class. Just tell us your story. Tell us who you are. And so they did. And we didn't know what their stories were beforehand, but at the end of the day, the sixth speaker just called attention to the fact that 5 out of the 6 speakers had included that they had been sexually abused as children.
Oh, wow.
Part of their story, right? So their whole story wasn't about that, but it was a part of their story. I'm even getting chills when I say it out loud.
Yeah.
So she said, okay, this is real. And there's 300 women in the room. She said, you don't have to, but if you've been affected in some way by sexual abuse, now that could mean, you could have been raped, or you could have just known someone who's your daughter's friend who was bullied, right? Anyways, the whole room, everybody's just standing up, and my heart is just pounding, and I've got chills, and I'm just thinking to myself, I have been really looking for some way to make an impact with my art, and something that I really care about. And at that moment, I was like, okay, I want to make art that calls attention to women's personal power, over their own lives and their choices, compassion, creativity, what we can accomplish as a community, and all that sort of as a counteraction, right, to gender violence in the world. So, it was very immediate. I knew that I wanted to do something. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do at that moment. But then the next month, I was at a peace conference in Belfast, where I was part of the Global Art Project for Peace. And we were sharing that art project. And there were several other major international art projects that were also being shared. And I thought to myself, well, Catherine Jostin, who started the Global Art Project, she's a friend of mine. She just one day had an idea and, set up a table at the university in Tucson. And then, 25 years later, she's got people in the whole entire world participating in this art project. So I knew, oh, okay, well, you just take one simple thing and you take a step. So then it started to formulate. I was like, oh, I did all those different projects with the straw weaving. And if I want people from all over the world to participate, it's easy, it's inexpensive, it's totally doable. So why don't I use that as my format? So Julie, yeah. So I made a website, and I started putting together straws and strings and beads into kits and sharing them. The first thing I did was, of course, share with my immediate circle, my daughters and my aunt and cousin. But then soon I was off. So I went to a conference on sex trafficking and handed out kits to a variety of people that were offering services and saying, oh, this would be a really great thing for my women's group to do, or for these particular clients who are maybe recovering from having been a victim of sex trafficking. And so that kind of got the ball rolling. And then I just kept reaching out. So, I've been at the University of San Diego for their Sexual Assault Awareness Week. I've been at conferences. I've been at the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. I held workshops for veteran women to tell their stories, for girls in San Diego who are at risk for sex trafficking, for just groups all over the, all over the Southwest mostly. Mm-hmm. And so pop up the tapestry, so you can kind of see here. Can you see the black stand there?
Hold on. Let me highlight you.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah.
Little
Where
black
are those stands. Is that something you buy off the shelf, or?
Yeah, it's something I buy on the in the internet. It's a stand that you would hang clothing in a retail store.
Oh.
And then I have copper pipes, and so then I can just pop this up just about anywhere. So before I moved to Santa Barbara, it was at the Visions Art Museum, which is a fiber museum in San Diego. Mm-hmm. in San Diego, I did a workshop with a group of women who are all new to the United States. They're all refugees, basically, from Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Afghanistan. And we met. It was a collaboration with the Silk Guild in San Diego, and spent the whole day. And we actually dyed some silk fabric that they tore up to incorporate into their panel. And their panel is actually just right here. So we're just going to be wiggling all around. I don't know that this is a continue like
that's fine. That's fine. Just go.
Yeah. So this panel here was done by 25 different women who are new to the United States. We had a wonderful workshop, and they shared a lot of their stories. They shared in basically confidential circles about some of the things that had happened to them. But the weavings are so wonderfully hopeful that a lot of them have referred to their children. And when they shared their stories, we met with them and they shared some stories, and they were all so full of hope for a new life that they're creating in the United States. And one of the women was saying, when I finished my weaving, I thought it was just wonderful. I was so pleased with it. And she said, then I saw it stitched, in with all of the other weavings, and then all of the other weavings. And she said it just, took her breath away, how meaningful and how beautiful it was to feel like she was a part of the entire tapestry.
Yeah.
And so while we're up here, I'll just kind of let you know. So I do stitch each thing together when I get the story cloths. And then I add a red fringe at the bottom to, I don't know if you can see it through the banner, but to 3 out of every 4, which is a World Health statistic of, women that are somehow affected by some kind of, I guess we'll call it violence, disrespect of some kind. So it could be anything from, female genital mutilation to sex trafficking to just bullying and being targeted to not be able to be educated, inequity, all of those things. So what I'm hoping is that when people see the tapestry, they are just taken by the incredible beauty and the incredible diversity and the incredible power of this piece of art, right? Mm-hmm. So what did I wanted to share?
Plans for it, because I know you have a number in mind, a target number in mind of the individual tapestries.
Yeah. So my goal is to have 1,000 women from around the globe to participate. And currently, so we have these women who are now, in America, but they really were representing their home countries when they wove. And over here we have story cloths from Australia, from Bulgaria. Let's see. Oh, over here is the Bulgaria group. I just want to show this to you because I think you'll get a kick out of it. So I had a friend in Bulgaria who I actually knew through the Global Art Project, and I sent her a bunch of kits, and she said, yes, my friends and I want to participate. So they sent me back their items, and even though she speaks English, and I think some of the other women did speak English or could understand it, and I had the website with the tutorials. So I do want to say that if you would like, I'm hoping that whoever is watching, you will know that you're invited to participate in this, that there's 3 tutorials where it just shows you how to set up the loom and then how to weave. And then I think there's sort of a troubleshooting and what to do and how to finish it. So anyway, so I sent it to them and they sent me back this piece of knit cloth. They cut up the straws and put the beads in the straws as embellishments. Oh, can you see it? And they wove. Oh, this one's knit out. This one's woven, but they cut up the straws and used those to embellish that as well. And
it sounds familiar, doesn't it, Judy?
They actually cut up the straws and made them into little beads and then put them on. So anything that anybody sends me gets put into the tapestry. So they sent me these little pieces, and I just stitch them together, and they go in, right? Because whatever it was that they wanted to represent about themselves, it's there.
Wow.
I just got a box from Sally Raskoff, who is also a designing weaver, and she sent this box with about 3, full story cloths, and then about a half a dozen just little pieces. And she said that she had invited a bunch of women to join the project as to celebrate her 60th birthday.
Oh.
And so they all started, kind of weaving, but she said that was 2 years ago. So she said, finally, I just said, I'm going to collect them all up and send them to you. So I, even if they're just this big, I tuck the ends in, and then I stitch them together. And, there's some here. I don't know if you can, let's see.
Let me highlight it again.
You might be able to see this one. I got this one, and it's just a short one. And so then I have another little short one.
Yeah.
Them together, and so they end up, there might be 3, there might be 3 story cloths. So at this point, I thought maybe I'd just say, because Julie, you and Judy just started, there's no real one way for you to do your story cloth. I have, I have said that if you want to do a timeline, you can do a timeline. And I also have writing prompts that you can download for your self-reflection. So, a lot of people will take the writing prompts. Like the first one is, what are some of your greatest achievements, successes, or creations? And so they'll weave about that. What part of their weaving is, it will represent that question. Other people just start. One of the veteran women, I don't know if I could find hers, but anyway, I think.
Well, I did what I always do, and this is my design process. My art and design process is I do a minimal sketch, and then I do notes what my idea is, and that's how I work. That's how I've always worked. And so my notes said, like, start with blue, and then this part here represents the flag of Arizona. I tried to make it,
Yeah, it does look like it.
And then I have this. I made a copper star, and then the copper. This is the copper wire I've used in a lot of my work, and
right.
You've seen, and but I actually need to ask you technical advice, Brecia, because I wanted to. The star doesn't fit on, and so I was going to wrap it around and stitch it in place. But you should still be able to stitch because it's a crocheted star.
Right.
But I wanted to make sure that was okay.
Yes, that's perfectly okay. And this just kind of brings up, you can see how much embellishment people put on.
Yes, I was gonna ask you to talk about that.
Yeah.
They're very textural.
So I started to say, because some people will do a timeline. So, you'll see this was, when I was born, and this is this and this and this and this, and they actually they know, we don't know what it is, but they know that, the green represented when they moved to the country or whatever. Other people just weave. So for example, this person, just took a color. She said, I just thought about my life, and I reflected and literally just wove with one, variegated. Other people just choose the colors they love. And I'm just going to say now, so, mostly it's yarn, but people have incorporated fabric, pieces of clothing that meant something to them. There's plastic, there's leather, there's rickrack, there's string, there's hair. There's all different kinds of things that people have with. And then you just choose. So we're actually here in front of this one. I'm going to get a little bit closer. So this one was done by a woman, a friend of mine here with the little mermaid. And she chose down here to represent her family. So she has these little faces, you can see.
Oh.
And she chose the colors of the brown and the pink alternating because she had a lot of very difficult challenges. Her mother died when she was really young. And so she and her brother, she said when they were little, they used to call brown caca. And
Oh,
she was like, okay, there's been a lot of things, challenging things, but in between, there's always a little bit of joy. So, you know, she had health issues. She went through a divorce. And so she's really kind of alternating between the challenges and the happiness. But the good news is up at the top, she put a little pin that says happiness.
aw.
And I actually thought I would share with you because she's one of the people who really shared. You know, she actually wrote out something I thought was really quite beautiful. This is what she said about it. She said, I feel like the aqua represents creativity, teaching, and community collaborations, which is the core of my career and the heart of my life, including my children, my grandchildren, and my loves. The brown represents my life struggles, my battle with cancer, divorce, and loss. And now I realize that the brown also represents healing to me. I feel calmed inside with the earth as I dig in my garden and make compost. The rustle of leaves blowing in the warm wind mixes with sweet orange blossoms and roses, and it invites me to keep going, struggle after struggle, finding wings of imagination. And at the very
Wow.
end, she's put some wings. So I just wanted to share that because that was really my deepest hope, was that the project would have 2 points of impact. One, the person who's participating, by reflecting on their own life, that somehow that would be a process of recognition, healing, reframing. People say that they, you know, they just had an opportunity to think about their life and apply, you know, some new perspectives to it. So I think that that's an empowering thing. And when I say empowering, I mean every woman has the power within them to make, you know, their choices and make changes. But we don't always, you know, sometimes we need a reminder, right? And then the second point of impact really is when people see the tapestry. And as I said, it's been, you know, I took it to Sacramento to conferences. It's been to art conferences. It's been popped up on the street, and always then, you know, it gives me an opportunity to talk about what it's about and how do we add our solutions to it. And at this point, I just want to say, because I don't know that your audience is all just women. The project really is about mutual respect, and men are certainly invited to participate if they resonate with the mission, right? So you have a couple of men who participated at this point, and now I'm just actually putting out an active call and saying, you know, nothing's going to change for women if only women care about it changing, right?
Yeah.
It has to be men, you know, who care about it as well. And
Yeah.
so I'm actively inviting men to do their story cloth and also to think about, you know, what's their role in either supporting women in their power to create a mutual respect or compassion, or, you know, where are they in this picture?
Well,
And,
and sorry to interrupt just a second. And truthfully, men do receive sexual abuse and are raped, and young boys are trafficked for forced prostitution in various places, just like women are, and young men are raped in the military. I personally know somebody who was,
yes,
and it's just not talked about.
yes,
If people could be open and honest, and you asked a room full of men if they have received sexual harassment, verbal, bullying, rape, being inappropriately touched, and, you know, and we're finding out, of course, we found out in the big religious, and now the Boy Scouts. I mean, the whole time that the thing with the religions was going on, I kept thinking, it's first off, it's going to come out in the Protestant churches.
mm-hmm.
And it did. And then I kept thinking, it's going to come out in the Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
That it was happening. And so males need to have their voice to talk about this also, because the reason that pedophilia keeps happening, the reason that sexual violence keeps happening is because the perpetrators scare the victims and say, don't you dare tell, and people don't talk. So
I'm so glad that you said that, because literally after that conference, when, you know, all of these women stood up, I was talking to other people about my experience, and I was saying, you know, I kept hearing two things. Like, I would be talking to a group of women and I would tell them about, you know, the conference, and that, you know, the speakers had shared so bravely and courageously about having been sexually abused. And they would say either one of two things. One was, you know, I was raped in college and I never told anyone. And I was like, okay, what does that say about our society that doesn't somehow make people feel safe enough to share? And then the other group would say, I don't know anyone who's ever been sexually abused.
wow.
Literally, like, oh, I don't know anyone. And so again, it's like, okay, this conversation has got to be had, right?
Yeah.
This sharing has to be openly invited.
Well,
And oh, go ahead, Judy. Yeah.
there's so much stigma, and it's, you know, that you have to break down the barriers that create the stigma that keep people, both men and women, from talking. You know, there's shame, there's fear, there's so many societal barriers in being forthcoming about this, for, you know, men and women. And so everyone, I won't say everyone, many people internalize it, and they push it down. They try to forget about it. They try to do all of these, you know, avoidance things because of the fear of many fears that if they share it, they'll be thought less of, that they won't be strong, they won't be valued. There, you know, so many thoughts about, if I let this out, it's going to impact me in even a more worse way.
Well,
you know, like, if I've already been victimized, I don't want to share it because I'm afraid it's going to revisit me. So your project gives men and women the way to share it without judgment and with support in a caring environment that they feel safe to do this. And that's incredible. Thank you so much, Brecia.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, from so many stories I read and stories I've heard personally, perpetrators threaten victims. You know, you know, you're already in a powerless position. You have somebody, and often perpetrators can be people who are powerful in the community. And if somebody is saying, I will, you know, I will hurt your family. And then history has shown that people came forward and were not believed or were blamed, victim blamed. And so what the perpetrators said, the threats, were enough to keep people quiet in a lot of cases. And in one case, I know there was somebody I worked with. His daughter had been having terrible health issues. She had gone through this bout of chronic inability to sleep for a few months. And one day her therapist called both parents. She was 20 but you know, in college, and so still at home, and said, you come now. You know, I need to see you now. And the young woman had said, I'm fine. I'm ready to tell my parents. And it was a cousin of hers who was the same age as her. It started when they were 13, and he had made threats.
Wow.
And I said to the person, the father, I said, from everything I know, rapists aren't born, they're made. And he shared with me a story of that family had had a clergy member that they were super close to, and then suddenly one day there was a falling out. So I'm extrapolating that that boy's perpetrator threatened him, and then when he turned around and did it to his cousin, he threatened her. And it's learned, and it keeps getting passed down. So this is everybody's woven voices, kind of, isn't it, Brecia? Everybody has a story to tell.
It really is. And my heart is just so full right now that we're having this open conversation. Judy, I have had people say, I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. I started to weave, and where they were at in their healing process wasn't far enough revisiting was too painful for them. And of course, I understand that. Many of the people who have contributed haven't had, they've never been beaten or raped. They maybe have had been catcalled or grabbed, but they're here in solidarity, and that's the whole idea. Yeah, of course, they're here in solidarity to say, yes, I want to put my creativity, my joy, my struggles, my accomplishments, my love for my grandchildren, my celebration of my dead mother. I want to put it all in, because that's what this is. I did have a friend who, when she first heard about it, she was saying, "Oh, I don't want to contribute to victimhood."
Oh,
and I was like, "Oh, I try so hard to explain it in a way that it, because that's not what it's about." But she came around, and a part of it was that she had just lost her husband, and she was saying, "I'm hurting so badly from the loss of my spouse." And I said, "Yeah, and you know what? When you look at this tapestry, there are." There's all the births of children and grandchildren. There's the deaths of parents and children. There's the celebrations of marriages. There's the, divorces and separations. I mean, it's all in here. And at first, sometimes people are like, "I don't get it. Where's the story cloth?" But it's obviously abstract. We don't know what that story is, but put all together, it creates a new collective story.
yeah.
The color.
Brecia, I have a question about the written portion.
Yeah,
Now I can see where the stories cloths are displayed. What happens with the written component? And are the written components tied to the story cloths themselves? Is it like cross-indexed or referenced, and so tell us about that portion.
Such a great question, Judy. So remember back when I was saying, I wanted this to be something that was really meaningful to people, and
Yeah.
I've been journaling for my whole life. So taking into account that if someone is going to sit down who has in some way experienced trauma or abuse, the writing component gives them an opportunity to journal and to write. And the questions, I say, what makes you feel the most whole? What makes you feel, what is your greatest successes? What brings you joy? Who gives you support? And then, in that, what was your greatest challenges? So I'm trying to give them opportunity to really look at it in perspective. And so it can be just, such a great tool for people. Many people don't find that they want to participate in the writing part, and that's okay. You can just weave. If weaving is happier for you, then that's fine. I have been collecting what people have sent me, and at one point, I think back in, Julie, were you in Reno at the HGA?
No, I had stopped going to HGA.
Yeah. Well, I shared the tapestry in the vendor hall, and Schiffer Publishing was sort of sponsored me. They were so dear because they had a large space, and they said, "Well, set your tapestry up here along the corner." So at that point, I did talk to the editor at Schiffer Publishing about the possibility of a book. And so I'm just kind of collecting. I do post the stories in my newsletter, little bits and pieces of them.
Oh,
People, I want them to also know that they can, you know, they can say anything in their story, and if they say no, don't share it, then at least they've had that opportunity to just be heard and received. Um, and I would say probably like maybe 1 in 5 do I get something written, and a lot of times I just get something that says, you know, I've had a really beautiful life. I'm so happy to participate in this. When I was weaving, I thought this, you know, but yeah, you know, nothing lengthy, not pages and pages. So it just really varies. It really varies, and I didn't put strict guidelines either about, you know, whatever it is you wanted to say. I wanted it more as to serve the participant.
Yeah.
And then that's funny because I was at a conference and somebody was saying, oh, you could, you know, you could do a thing where you what was it? What's the little the little Q code thing that you scan?
Oh, QR code, the little
QR
square
code,
thing.
Like,
Yeah.
like you could have a thing where you could like hold your phone over the QR code, and then you could hear the story. And as lovely as that is, I don't identify the individual. Like you put a list of like people who have participated, but again, like I got that box from Sally. I know Sally participated. She didn't send me the names of any of the other people. So really, almost half of these weavings, I don't even know who wove them, you know, when I get them. And so I do have some excerpts like the one that I just read from Kira. I have those printed out, and when it's on exhibit, I have like a notebook where people can scroll through to read.
But are the writings, will they be, like if I submit something and I have my name and I submit it to you, will my name be attached to the writing, or because I'm thinking, would
you anonymize
if I want to share the publicly, like I don't mind the story, but I don't want to have my name attached to the story. So can people feel confident that if they write, it can be produced or reproduced, but not with their name attached?
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to just recall on the website. It says, you know, is it okay to share your story? Yes or no? And I've had people say, I want to remain anonymous, but I don't remember if there's like I don't think I have a box to click that. And I have shared some of the stories where I knew the person and they were really okay with sharing it.
Yeah.
I've never shared whole names. I've shared first names.
Oh, that's a good one. That's good. Yeah.
I know we're going to be wrapping up, but just one little story is an 85-year-old woman participated, and she did the weaving. She didn't do any writing, but she told me afterwards when she gave me her story class, she said, you know, I have had a lot of ups and downs in my life, and she had been in a marriage where her husband thought, you know, the best way to keep her in line was to smack her in the back of the head, right? Okay,
Wow.
she was in an abusive marriage, which thankfully she was able to get out of. But so she's, you know, she was weaving along, and she said, you know, Bree, when I finished this weaving, I thought to myself, I'm a strong woman. You know, she's 85, I think 84, 85. And she said, you know, I never have ever thought that before.
Wow.
So for me to know that as she wove and thought about all the different elements of her life, you know, all the joys, all the challenges, and for her to come to that conclusion, and I feel, and as you know, I mean, Julie's just sitting there, she's like, you get into a meditative state, you get into a zone. It's very
soothing.
Yes, it's soothing, and it allows for insights and perspectives to kind of just bubble up when people are just sitting and weaving. And you know, some people had told me, you know, I feel bad because I think I sat in front of the TV and did a lot of my weaving, and I distracted myself, you know, from letting stuff bubble up, right? So, you know, okay, you're forgiven. I mean, that's okay. But, you know, if you are just sitting and weaving, don't be surprised if, you know, new perspectives don't present themselves, or just a thought maybe that, you know, wow, you know, when that happened, I really didn't see it that way, or whatever, you know. People have told me that they felt some real healing and some real transforming going on while they wove. So I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you know, when I saw your presentation for HGA,
Oh,
I don't even know when that was. August, September.
September.
and I I emailed you and I said, well, you know, I just to say hi because we hadn't talked in a while. And you asked me, have you woven a story cloth? And my first reaction was internally, very quietly, was no.
Poor thing.
I do not want to dive into the past. You know, it's like, and I was like, no, I'm not. No, we're not going there.
Yeah.
And until Judy and I had the idea to do this on the program, but there's this little thing here that I don't. I went to Mesa High School, you know, and the colors were purple and gold. But this little black here is that there was a time when there were some very dark days.
Yeah.
And but you know, nobody needs to know really what that's about once they see this. But you know,
So when you finish your whole thing and you see those little bits in there, and you're like, okay, but you know, look where I am right now. You know, I know that a lot of people have included some black days, and you know, when I did the workshop with the veteran women, it was so interesting because although they did not share specifics with me, I know all of them had experienced some real trauma, and collectively they basically they loved the project, they loved doing it. They just said, you know what, this is an opportunity for us to weave, you know, our joy, our children, our lives as women, that, you know, things that we want to celebrate. And so so everybody, you know, can use it in different ways. That I know we have to kind of wrap up, but I'm going to just share this one here in Santa Barbara. There's a number of them that have these little tags on them. I don't know if you can see the little tags.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this says, this tapestry has been made with love by a team member, PBW, that is dedicated to the memory of Brooke Powers Wilson. And a mom had lost her daughter to cancer, 20-something-year-old daughter. And so she invited her friends to weave their story cloths. And they're the most decorated story cloths. They have so many doodads on them. They weigh a ton. But they came together in a big box as a way to support the mom by just selling.
Nice.
That is darling.
It's an example of how, you know, you just put something out there and, you know, people are using it in many, many different ways that I couldn't have even imagined, to, you know, find a support and to find healing and to find something positive, you know. So
okay, I'm going to put there's the website for Women's Woven Voices.
thank you.
And really, as we begin to wrap up, talk a little bit about your donations and, you know, taking donations and what you need,
Thank
you know,
you
to continue the project.
Opportunity, because as I was setting up, I just finished. I'm just going to flash this at you. This is the ninth panel, and I'm now working on the 10th panel. I had to do them in panels because these things weigh a lot. You know, it's yarn and there's all these different things sewn on. Yeah, I see it's the opposite. There we go. Anyway, this is the 9th panel, and you know, I just have to say that how honored I am that I get to hold each one of these stories in my hands. I do take a reverent view of holding someone's story in my hand, and when I'm stitching them together, it really, I feel so blessed by the opportunity. But why I'm showing you this is that I'm all out of the stands. I need more stands. They cost about $50 each, and so I have my panel, but I didn't have stands to put it on today. So if anybody is interested in sharing, the Women's Woven Voices website has a donate right up at the top. It takes you to PayPal. I'm so grateful to all of the people who have done that and who've helped me. It's a self-funded project. So, and this is not I'm not a nonprofit. This is just an international collaborative project. So you don't get a tax receipt, But if you feel moved to support the project and to support the mission, then you can donate, anything that you would like on the website. And I'm looking for, my next $100 because I need to buy two more poles for the next 2 panels that I have. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Great.
yeah. So thank you for that. And the project's going to continue on. It's scheduled to go next summer up to Washington if the pandemic allows. And then I'm working with HDA, hopefully to get it to Tennessee in 2022. And I would love to have 500. I'd like to be halfway.
Oh, and remind us again how many panels you currently have?
Currently, I'm working on my 10th panel, and they're not all exactly the same because it doesn't work out that way. But it's about, I think, about 235 story cloths right now,
Yeah.
and 1,000 story cloths. I mean, from around the world. I think I've got 5 or 6 different countries that have participated, and I just keep dropping a pebble in the pond. So now you and Judy are my little pebbles. Thank you so much, and just keep sharing it. So. I look forward to stitching yours in. You can just mail it to me. My address there is all over the website. It's in the little kits. People can order their kits. The kits are free. I do ask for a little help with the shipping, and that's been working out really great. And my current partnership is with the Front Porch Gallery. Works with nonprofit. Senior living facilities. So we're going to have 10 senior living facilities participating in the project over the next 6 months, and hopefully over 100 residents. And then we're going to put those panels on display at the gallery. So
yeah, and Front Porch Gallery is
in Carlsbad.
Cool.
So just one step at a time. When I was in San Diego, I reached out to the Girl Scouts. But then, with the move, so now I'm gonna rethink that here in Santa Barbara County, and just as I said, just one step at a time. I just keep reaching out and reaching out and reaching out. So
okay,
I want to say to our viewers, if to please go to Women's Woven Voices, because if you're hesitant about weaving and things like Brecia has wonderful videos. They are so clear. They're so easy to follow. Yeah. And I encourage you to take up this project and feel secure to know that you can do it. And
anybody
tell your story. It's important. And it just, you're fabulous. And I also have to say, you've been the easiest person I've had to interview. I haven't said anything. I've just sat back and let you go.
Well, yep, turn the button. And I have to share. I mean, I could tell you many, many more stories.
You're just wonderful, Brecia. You're just truly wonderful. I am so in awe of this project and of you. Oh, okay. And I can't say thank you enough for being our guest today, because you've really not just opened my eyes, you've opened my heart. And I'm so appreciative. I am really appreciative. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Well, and so it's been great, from my part, to see you again, because it's been so long. And I hope we can see each other in person. Maybe I'll go to Tennessee in 2022, to the HGA conference. So at this time, we need to do our business and to tell the audience, tell the entire world that's watching. Next week, we're going to have Annette Corsini of the Knitting Tree Los Angeles is going to be our guest. That show's not going to be live. We're going to pre-record it because it's Thanksgiving week. And everybody, please hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you can get the little thing that says when we've either posted or we're going live. And once again, Brecia, thank you, Judy. Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you.
And everybody, have a happy Thanksgiving if we don't see you, and
Oh,
everybody
yes, if we don't. Yep. Stay safe.
stay safe, stay distant,
Wear your masks.
wear your masks, and maybe we'll all be able to get together in person someday soon.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks.
Okay. So with that, we're going to say
Bye.
bye.